Edinburgh, Scotland, a city known for its iconic castle, Gothic architecture and haunted alleyways. Compared to other countries in the world, the UK ranks as a more expensive country to travel. This time I'm going to take on the challenge of seeing how long I can survive in Scotland's capital city with £100. I'm going to be starting the challenge here at Edinburgh Airport. I have just landed in from Dublin and I'm going to be heading into the city. I have £100 in cash. We're going to see how long I can survive in Edinburgh on this money. I have checked for accommodation already tonight. It's a Friday, so I checked the other day and the cheapest hotel I could find for tonight in Edinburgh is £149. That's a private room. If I book a hotel room, the whole budget will be gone. I won't even be able to afford a night in Edinburgh. So I have booked the cheapest accommodation that I've been able to find in Edinburgh. It's a backpackers hostel. From Edinburgh Airport, there's a few different ways to get into the city. I'm going to check out the different options and see how much they cost. My plan for this video is to experience Edinburgh properly as a tourist and do the things that I would like to do when visiting the city for the first time. So some of the things on my wish list are to visit the castle, eat haggis and also have some Scottish whisky. Okay, I'm going to head now and check the different options to get into the city, see how much they cost and move on. Let's go. So behind me is the taxi rank over there and I've checked on Uber from Edinburgh Airport to go to Waverley Station, which is in the city centre of Edinburgh. The price is £18.94. So that option I think is out. Now I'll go and check the bus price into the city centre. Just in front of me here is the bus into the city centre. The Airlink single ticket £5.50 for the bus. Just beside the bus here is the connections for the tram. The tram system in Edinburgh is quite a new and recent thing. So let's go and check out the price of the tram. Well, here's one of the trams. This is what an Edinburgh tram looks like. Here are the prices for the tram. Airport single, £7.50. So this is £2 more expensive than the bus. So the bus is the cheapest option. Let's take the bus into Edinburgh. I'm actually so excited for this, being in Edinburgh as a tourist. Let's go. So in Scotland for about 10 minutes already and the rain has started and I don't have a rain jacket with me, so I think I've mentioned so many times in other videos to always pack your rain jacket if you come to Scotland. I've made it into the city centre. The bus journey took around 30 minutes, so I've been dropped on Princes Street, which is the busiest shopping street in Edinburgh. This is the street here, Princes Street, and opposite is Princes Street Gardens, which is where I'm going to go first because from there you can get an amazing view of Edinburgh Castle. Even though I'm from Scotland, I still feel so impressed every time I see Edinburgh Castle. I heard that it's Scotland's most popular and most visited tourist attraction. Now that I've made it into Edinburgh city centre, I need to work out where I want to go. If you're coming to Edinburgh from overseas, you'll probably want to have data so that you can look up maps, you can use car riding services, and you can also figure out where you're going. The easiest way to get connected is by using an eSIM, and I honestly think eSIMs are the best invention ever. With an eSIM, there's no need to waste any time when you first arrive at the airport hanging around in a queue waiting to buy a physical SIM card. There's also no risk of having extortionate bills for roaming with your home network. eSIMs are 100% digital SIM cards and they work in most modern mobile phones. And the best part is you keep your own number. The eSIM I always use is Airalo, and I recently visited Italy and I used it when I was there. It works in over 200 countries and regions. On the app, you can select where you're going and then choose the best data plan for you. So for example, if you're coming to Edinburgh or Scotland, you can choose the UK and then choose the best data plan for your needs. It only takes a few minutes to set up, and once you land, the data is already working and you are connected. The best part is if you use the code Ruth3 at checkout, you'll get $3 off your first Airalo eSIM. You can also scan the QR code or click the link in the video description below. Thank you to Airalo for sponsoring today's video. Now let's explore Edinburgh. A lot of you ask what time of year it is, what temperature it is. So it's currently beginning of October and it is 13 degrees Celsius here in Edinburgh. I'm wearing a t-shirt and a denim jacket, but to be honest, I'm a bit cold. So I'm going to put on another layer. That is better. So I have a few things I want to do in Edinburgh that I feel like are very Scottish things to do when here. I am really hungry. So my first stop is going to be somewhere to have haggis. Let's go. As we're heading to the haggis restaurant, all these beautiful buildings are coming into view here. I've made it to the first stop. This is the Scottish Storytelling Centre, and in here is a place where you can get haggis. So I have ordered haggis with whisky sauce and also the Iron Brew. So this is Scotland's second national drink. Iron Brew was created in 1901 for steel workers who were rebuilding Glasgow Central Station. It has a taste that's hard to describe, but some say it's a combination of bubblegum and citrus. Okay, so the haggis, neeps and tatties has arrived. So if you come to Scotland, haggis is the national dish. Haggis is traditionally served with neeps, which are turnips, and tatties, which are potatoes. The ingredients are sheep's offal, oatmeal, suet and spices. I have ordered the vegetarian version. So the vegetarian version actually tastes quite similar to the original haggis. So if you don't want to try the real haggis, you can try this instead. And something interesting that some of you were commenting on one of my previous videos when I ate haggis was that in the USA, haggis is illegal. So you can't buy it anywhere, and I didn't know about that. So if you come to Scotland from the USA, I recommend to come here and try the haggis. It tastes really good with whisky sauce. So if you have the option to have whisky sauce with haggis, I highly recommend it. The one that is served here is made from Auchentoshan whiskey, which is a very nice whiskey. Let's give it a go. The whisky sauce is really strong. A lot of whiskey in there, which is good. With Iron Brew, this is the most popular soft drink in Scotland and it actually outsells Coca-Cola. If you come, you also need to try Iron Brew. So I had the haggis, it was pretty good. Haggis was a little bit dry, so I am going to rate it an 8 out of 10. But if you're wanting to try haggis, neeps and tatties, I definitely suggest this place because it is here on the Royal Mile, which is this street behind me. So this is actually a UNESCO World Heritage Site and it connects Holyrood Palace all the way up to Edinburgh Castle. So I'll head up there and explore a little bit more of the Royal Mile. The Royal Mile is the busiest tourist street in Edinburgh's Old Town, with cobbled streets, narrow closes and towering tenements. There are lots of souvenir shops here, but they have a reputation of being a bit pricey. One really good thing about Edinburgh is there's actually quite a number of free things to do here, and on the Royal Mile is this beautiful cathedral called St Giles Cathedral, and it's free to go inside. So while I'm walking past, I'll go in and have a look. St Giles Cathedral is a stunning example of Gothic architecture, known for its iconic crown spire. It has been a place of worship for over 900 years and played a significant role in the Scottish Reformation. So I thought it was free to come in here, but when I entered it said suggested donation of £6. Usually I always leave a donation, but because we're on a strict budget challenge this time, I didn't leave a donation. I'm very sorry. I'll have to come back again in the future and leave a double donation. Behind me is another free thing to do here in Edinburgh at the National Museum of Scotland. I am not used to all the crowds. There are so many people visiting. I'm going to go in and have a quick look inside the National Museum. The National Museum of Scotland houses a vast collection that explores everything from natural history and world cultures to science and Scottish heritage. Okay, so I finished up in the museum. That was absolutely great. If you're looking for something to do to pass a few hours, this is a fantastic place to come, especially if it's raining. So the next thing I'm going to do is to have a whisky. So if you come to Scotland and don't have a dram of whisky, it's basically a crime. I've done a bit of research about the top whisky things to do here in Edinburgh, so I'll run through them. There is the Scotch Whisky Experience located on the Royal Mile. So this is a very popular attraction. You get a tour for an hour and you can learn about how whisky's made and have a dram. It does seem quite touristy though, and I think I'm going to avoid that. It's about £23, also quite expensive on my limited budget today. There is also the Johnnie Walker Experience on Princes Street. This is a new place that you can go and learn about Johnnie Walker whisky. It's also £30, so that will be a lot of the budget gone. In Edinburgh there are 2 whisky distilleries, I believe. So one is quite close to here. It's called Holyrood Distillery, and there is another distillery in a place called Leith, which would be a bit of a walk, probably a short bus ride away, and it is the first vertical distillery. So it's opened recently and I don't know if their whisky has matured yet, so there might not be whisky to try. In Edinburgh there are also lots of different whisky bars, lots of very good whisky bars, so I will write a list of them on the screen now because I know a lot of you who watch are very interested in whisky, and a lot of these bars I've been to and have been recommended by my friends. Some of them work in the whisky industry, so definitely check some of these bars out if you're in Edinburgh and interested in whisky. So I'm going to head down to the Holyrood Distillery. I'm not going to do the tour because it costs £25, but I do believe they have a bar there, so they might offer some tastings and I can try the whisky, but I doubt it'll be free since we're in Edinburgh. As I've travelled all around Scotland to lots of different distilleries, many distilleries give out free samples if you turn up so that you can try the whisky. I think my maximum budget for a dram is around £5 because I want to be really careful I don't spend too much, and I think after you have one whisky it's quite hard not to have a second one. I need to constrain myself and just try and have one dram of whisky. So as I was walking I had to buy a bottle of water, so 85p gone. I'm almost at the distillery, but it's in a sort of residential area. So there's the distillery there up ahead, and just beside it is this whisky bar called the Tipsy Midgie. This is meant to be a really fantastic whisky bar. There's amazing reviews on Google for this one, so it might be open once I finish in the Holyrood Distillery. I've arrived at the distillery. It's actually a bit different to what I expected. I've never visited a distillery in a city before, but there is a smell of whisky in the air, so let's go inside and see what they have here. I'm in the shop and I have a sample here of this one, the Edinburgh whisky to try. So this is actually the one that they give out and it is slightly peated. So this is great. There's also a bar in here as well where you can go up and have more of a selection and bigger sizes of drams. Very nice. Holyrood Distillery is one of 3 whisky distilleries in Edinburgh and is part of the Lowland Whisky region. It opened in 2019 and they produce whisky, gin and rum. Stuart from the distillery introduced their Edinburgh whisky.
So this is our whisky Edinburgh. It is named after the city in which we call home, Edinburgh. It's actually shortening. And this is basically our first introduction of smoky whisky to us being a distillery in Edinburgh making smoky. It has got 55% of the grains being peated, so there's like a balance, giving space to other flavours showing themselves. But what we've also done is have aging involved that adds flavour of smoke by having some of the cask that has been aging this being ex-Islay cask, so we're getting complexity of smoke but not intensity by giving space for other flavours with the peatedness of the grain. And there's lots of different yeast involved. I think it's got 5, so we've got 2 whiskey and also 2 beer and even 3 wines. So this is all working together, lots of different combinations of flavour. But it is more of a hickory smoke for some. For me, I think it's just a classic expectation of smoke. Nothing too distinctly Islay because it is using Highland peat, which is a bit more balanced and forgiving. But it is nonetheless our first smoky that we are all very proud of, and of course we did win an award for it as well.
That was great, fantastic. So I tried one whisky and the rum. I preferred the whiskey. It was really nice actually. I didn't expect there to be a peated whiskey here in Edinburgh. If anyone is wanting to try that whiskey, I do recommend it, especially if you like slightly peated whiskey. In the Holyrood distillery they also have a bar upstairs, and I couldn't really get a video because it was really busy in there, but the views from the bar are amazing, and I've actually just walked through the woodland here to see the views for myself. So these are the crags, and then behind is Arthur's Seat. So this is quite a popular hike for people to do when they're in Edinburgh. There's really great views from the top. I might go up, I'm not sure. Maybe after some whiskey it's not a great idea. To be honest, I was quite surprised that the little tasters were free. It's really good when you're not driving, because then you can actually enjoy the distillery and try all the drinks. That's the challenging thing when you travel around Scotland and go to the distilleries in a car or a vehicle and you're on your own, because you can't drink and drive, so you can't always try all the samples. I have decided to go up to the top of Arthur's Seat. It says that it takes 30 minutes, so it'll be an hour return trip, and the views from up there over Edinburgh are amazing. I've been up a few times before, but that also means I will be back for 5 o'clock when the whiskey bar opens. So Stuart in the Holyrood distillery said that that's one of the best whiskey bars in Edinburgh. He highly recommends it as well. Hopefully when I come back down that bar will be open. That's the route up to the top, and there is Arthur Boy in the distance there. That's where we're heading. I actually forgot to mention about this earlier. I've sometimes heard people pronouncing the name of this city incorrectly. I checked with my sister-in-law, who is from Edinburgh. So she said, the way she says it, she grew up in Edinburgh, lived her whole life here. Edinburgh, like that, right? But I asked a few other people who are Scottish but not from Edinburgh, and they say Edinburgh. So especially people from the south of Scotland, I asked quite a few people and they say Edinburgh, but it's definitely not Edinburgh. Do not say that, absolutely not. And it is not Edinburgh, which is like a rabbit burrow, definitely not that. So I think the first two pronunciations are acceptable pronunciations for the name of this city. Oh wow, I've been walking and you can see the castle in the distance. Look how far I've walked. I didn't realise. Almost at the top. There is the top of Arthur's Seat just behind me. Not long to go. Okay, made it to the top. Here are the views. I don't think it was a great idea drinking the whiskey before the hike, but if you can't be bothered hiking up this, if it's too high, there's also this other hill in the distance called Carlton Hill or Calton Hill, and it's near the end of Princes Street, so it's an easier one to do if this is too much. Made it back down from Arthur's Seat to the whiskey bar. It's open now. Let's go in and have a look inside. Always a bit scary going in a bar on my own. I went for the Bonington whiskey. It's one of Edinburgh's 3 whiskey distilleries. There were so many whiskies to choose from inside the bar. The menu has whiskey and chocolate pairings, which I've never seen before. I am out of the whiskey bar. Wow, I think that's the best whiskey bar I have been to in the whole of Scotland. If you come to Edinburgh, you have to come to the Tipsy Midgie Whiskey Bar, and Colin, who works there, is so knowledgeable about whiskey. I had the Bonington whiskey from Edinburgh. It was nice, but I preferred the Holyrood whiskey. Both of those were £8 for a dram, so they're similarly priced. I generally prefer peaty whiskies. It's been quite a while now since I've last eaten something, and I don't have very much money left because I spent £8 on the whiskey. So I'm next going to have some dinner, but I'm going to have a dinner that is not in a restaurant. It's going to be a local speciality from Edinburgh. I feel like my lunch was a bit splashing out because I spent quite a lot of money. So we're going to go for a more budget end dinner tonight, to something that's going to fill me up but also be very yummy. My next stop is the chip shop, because in Edinburgh they have a really special topping for the chips. I have made it to the park. I have my large chips with salt and sauce. So you might be wondering, what the heck is salt and sauce? So it is something that is from Edinburgh and then it's put on top of chips. So a lot of places in Scotland you'll get salt and vinegar offered on your chips, but in Edinburgh they offer salt and sauce, and the sauce is a combination of brown sauce and vinegar, and there's a bit of a debate about which is better, and I'm not really sure, to be honest. This is my third time having salt and sauce. I'd only ever tried it for the first time last year, but I think I prefer salt and vinegar. I'm not sure. If you have a preference, please let us know. It's a hard one. So I wandered around a little bit and walked back up to the area where Edinburgh Castle is, and I walked down Victoria Street, which is a very iconic street in Edinburgh. There's quite a bit of work getting done on it at the moment, and then I went down to the Grassmarket area. There's lots of bars and restaurants down there, and I have booked on now to a ghost tour. So this is a free tour, so I think the idea is that you give a tip after the tour. So the tour is 1 hour 30 minutes and we'll go to some haunted places in Edinburgh in the dark. I'm really looking forward to this actually, because I don't know much at all about the scary and haunted side of Edinburgh. Edinburgh is deemed haunted due to its turbulent history of plague, witch hunts and executions. The medieval architecture and eerie encounters reported in places like the Old Town and Greyfriars Kirkyard enhance its reputation as one of the world's most haunted cities. The ghost tour was really good. I left a tip of £5 for the ghost tour, so there's a little bit of budget left. I've now walked 28 minutes from the Royal Mile to the area where my accommodation is. So I booked the cheapest accommodation tonight in Edinburgh. It's a hostel dormitory room and it's quite a distance. It would have been better to stay over at the Royal Mile, but everything over there was more expensive. This was the cheapest accommodation tonight in Edinburgh. I booked on booking.com and I'm a Genius member, so the price was £33.92 for a bed in a 9-bed mixed dorm. Okay, I'm at the hostel. I checked in. I'm almost at the room and I need to pay £2 extra for the towel. When I arrived in the bedroom, I went to my allocated bed, but someone was already asleep inside the bed. After asking a staff member, I was then allocated a top bunk. I didn't even know you could get bunk beds with 3 levels. In the hostel, there is a bar, a kitchen, and bathrooms. When I used the bathroom, the toilet seat fell off onto the floor. Good morning. Last night in that hostel was not great, to be honest. I didn't get to sleep till around 2 a.m. There were people coming in and out of the room, people using the bathroom, people arrived at 2 a.m. and turned on the lights. There were people snoring, people coughing all night. It was, not great. So I think I've had about 3 hours or 4 hours of very broken sleep. I am really tired. I'm now going to head to a place to have breakfast and hopefully get a coffee as well to waken me up. It's quite difficult that that's the cheapest accommodation in Edinburgh because it wasn't great, and I still think that's quite a lot of money to stay the night in that type of hostel where you get such a bad sleep. But anyway, I guess it is what it is, and it was Friday night as well, so maybe the prices on a Friday night are more expensive than the other nights of the week for a hostel. But yeah, it was quite a long walk as well from the Royal Mile, so if you're staying in Edinburgh, I suggest to stay more towards the Royal Mile area so you don't have to walk so far to your accommodation. I headed to a cafe called CJ's for a Scottish breakfast. My Scottish breakfast had fried eggs, mushrooms, hash browns, haggis, tomatoes, tatty scones, baked beans, fried bread and toast.
20, 20. Is Lewis joining us with the T's and C's?
Yes, Lewis is here with the T's and C's, Mr. Lewis Capaldi.
So, finished the Scottish breakfast. That is the traditional Scottish breakfast, but it's not something people eat every day. It's quite greasy and quite heavy. I feel a bit sick after, and I actually couldn't finish the whole breakfast. With my breakfast, I had 2 coffees because I was quite tired after the lack of sleep last night. Oh my goodness, that hostel. I was really glad to leave actually. I don't have anything against hostels. In the past, I've stayed in many hostels when I travelled Southeast Asia on my own for 6 months. I only really stayed in hostels, but perhaps when you get older, they're not so appealing. I think I could have had a better night's sleep on a park bench, to be honest, and I could have used that money to have more drinks and more of a night out last night. The final thing I'm going to do here in Edinburgh before I finish this challenge is to go to Edinburgh Castle, which is just behind me here. There are so many people here. You need to book a ticket in advance. I tried to book a ticket for early this morning, but they were all sold out. So the earliest I could go was at 11:30. So if you plan to come to Edinburgh Castle, definitely book your ticket in advance. The ticket to go inside costs £19.50, so that's the cheapest ticket available. There's other tickets that include a tour, but I've gone for the most simple ticket. I'm actually really looking forward to going inside because I've never been in here before, or if I have, it was when I was much younger, so I don't remember anything. Okay, let's go inside Edinburgh Castle. So there is Arthur's Seat in the distance where I hiked up yesterday. Wow, I've walked so much over the last few days, and these are the views from Edinburgh Castle. So you enter from here, scan the ticket. So actually I managed to go in 30 minutes early, and then this is the entrance of the castle here. I have this map here which shows all the things to go and see in the castle, and the red ones are recommended as the highlights. There's quite a lot to see. You could probably spend around 2 or 3 hours here, so I'll try and head to some of the red ones. The earliest evidence of human habitation on Castle Rock dates back to around 850 BC, with the castle being established in the 12th century by King David I. This ancient fortress has played a crucial role throughout history, profoundly influencing Scotland's narrative. Within its walls reside some of Scotland's most treasured relics, including the crown jewels and the Stone of Destiny. However, there were huge queues to go inside and see these. The castle also features the 1 o'clock gun, which has been fired daily since 1861, and it's considered one of the most haunted locations in Scotland. Edinburgh Castle attracts around 2 million visitors each year, and I think many of them were visiting on the same day as me. Edinburgh Castle is actually built on an extinct volcano, and it's really nice to see the views from up here because usually I'm always down there looking up at the castle. One thing that is really surprising is how busy it is in here. I did not expect there to be so many people. I obviously knew it was a really popular tourist attraction, but it is packed. I think every tourist in Edinburgh has come inside to see Edinburgh Castle, but I understand why. It is one of the main things to do here, but because I spend so much time in places in Scotland that are less popular, a lot of remote islands and places that aren't as often visited by tourists, it's really surprising to see how popular Edinburgh is. I didn't realise. Made it out of Edinburgh Castle alive. Wow, that is the busiest place I have ever visited in Scotland, and to be honest, I didn't really enjoy it. It is obviously very impressive, but can't enjoy it when it's so busy. The queue to get into the crown jewels was about 30 minutes long. There was no photographs allowed in a lot of the areas. I did go inside the National War Memorial, which was really great. No photos or videos are allowed in there, but that's a place I've actually wanted to go for quite a while because 3 of my family members' names are mentioned in the books in there. However, inside you could hardly move because there were so many people. But anyway, with the ticket to Edinburgh Castle, which cost £19.50, that took me over the £100 budget. So to answer the question, is it possible to survive Edinburgh with £100? Yes, it is, but you might last for about 24 hours. You could eat cheaper, you could buy things from the supermarket and cook for yourself. However, if you want to have a proper experience in Edinburgh, try the traditional Scottish food, go to the tourist attractions. It's quite easy to spend £100. So let me know what you think about the prices of what I've bought here in Edinburgh. It was a really enjoyable 2 days, and this is not a city that I know very well. I've never lived here, and it was nice to be a tourist and experience things that I've never done before in my own country. If you're interested to see more videos of Scotland, especially places a little bit more off the beaten path, lesser discovered, definitely check out all the other videos on my channel. I travel to lots of other different parts of Scotland, very wild and remote places, also lots of the Scottish islands. So if you're interested to see that side of Scotland, definitely check out those videos. Thank you so much for watching the video today. I am so sleepy. I don't know if you can see how tired I am after my very limited sleep in the hostel last night. So I'm going to go to my friend's house and have a little sleep. Bye!